There's a saying out there, you've either got it or you don't. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but when it comes to a certain aspect of retirement, a lot of you don't have it. Thanks for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart of Welcome Home Financial Partners. You can find them online. WelcomeHomeFP.com is the website. Click the link right there in the podcast description. It'll take you straight there. My name is Chris Vaughn, and I'm pleased to be joined by Ralph, Tim, and Scott. Gentlemen, glad to be with you. How are you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing very well. Here we are. As we're recording, it is the unofficial kickoff of summer, and a lot of people are planning for hopefully an enjoyable summer, a relaxing summer. Spend more time planning vacations than they do actually planning retirement, and it kind of ties into this story here. When it comes to retirement confidence, it appears that many don't have it. There was a survey by AARP that found that Americans 50 or older who were not yet retired, a lot of them actually never expect to. And on top of that, about 60% in that same age group haven't even consulted a financial professional or help when it comes to retirement planning. So I have to feel like there's a correlation there. Doesn't it make sense for them to see somebody like Welcome Home Financial Partners as early as possible?
I think it really does. I mean, we kind of talk to anybody that, when's the best time to start retirement planning? Well, the best time's today. So we meet a lot of people that, come in and they aren't very confident, to use that word, in their retirement plan because they haven't sat down and built a strategy, haven't talked to a financial professional about is retirement feasible. And then a lot of people, procrastinate because they feel bad about it. They aren't confident and they keep kicking the can down the road. And really, it all starts with the conversation, the initial conversation. How do we get that ball rolling to retirement? A lot of people, like Ralph, I showed you that retirement roadmap the other day. A young woman that I'm working with right now thought she would never, ever retire. And we ran our retirement roadmap for her. She's in her early 70s, still working. She could retire tomorrow comfortably if she wanted to. So made her feel really good. But the key is you got to start the conversation, raise your hand, give us a call, come to one of our events, and just start the conversation. Let's see where you are.
I would say for most people, what they need to understand is not their investment as the most valuable thing in retirement planning. It's called time. That's the most valuable asset we have. And the reason I say that is if there is a number that you want to reach before you can retire, if you started at age 25, it's going to take a lot less money than if you started at age 55. So you need to understand that for people to come in as early as possible. And don't worry about not understanding a lot of things, but get something started. Even if it's $50 a month at age 25, the number of people that we have to talk to about saying, hey, you need to contribute the max, the company you work for, if you have a matching program, whatever they're contributing to, you need to do at least that much, if not more, to make sure you're secure in your retirement years.
But it's also pretty sad to hear that, there's a lot of folks that don't think they're going to ever retire, right? There's so many things involved. Inflation, we hear about a lot. I mean, I've heard every type of variation of inflation. I heard this morning on the news, greedflation, right? So there's so many crazy things out there, but just for folks who never expect to retire, well, how do you know that? Like Scott was talking about, the lady he was working with, you've got to start that conversation because most folks, to my knowledge, they want to retire, right? We don't want to work until 80s or 90s or hundreds, right? So it's important to start the conversation.
But I would also say there's a big difference between having to work in retirement and wanting to work. Because if you have to work just to pay your bills, that's not a good spot to be in my opinion. Now, if you decide to work past 65 or 70, whatever it is, because you feel more comfortable having something to do or it's a mission for you, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. There is no magic number in your retirement, whether it's what year do you want to retire, how much money do you have to have. It's all about you. It's all about what you are trying to accomplish. And that's where a financial professional comes in.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that we see that come into the office where they do it themselves, right? They've built up this great big pot of money, but they don't know how to take the distributions from it. They don't know how to have protection. They don't know what income's going to look like in retirement because that's what retirement's all about. It's about the income and the memories that you make. So a lot of people, when they're taking a look at their plan, it's a DIY project. And once they get to a certain point, then it's time to hand it over to the professionals.
The other thing, Chris, I would say is this, those people that do it themselves, they might do a very good job because we've got people coming in with $3 and $4 million that they've done it themselves because they are good savers. But as somebody came in with 7 million the other day said, the reason I'm here is because my wife asked me last night after watching your television program that we have, Aspire to Retire, what happens when you're no longer here? Who's going to do this for me? Because I don't have a clue as to what we need to do after you're gone. So you need to be thinking about that, the legacy planning that you have to do.
First of all, I want to applaud, that couple for doing a great job saving, but also knowing what they don't know and saying, you know what, I don't have the answer to this. And there are times where the DIY approach no longer fits, where you want to go ahead and defer to professionals because there is a difference between retirement accounts and an actual retirement plan. How do I make that into income over the course of my retirement, sustainable income, factoring in taxes and all the other things that they probably didn't plan for because, if they are going it alone or if they are using these brokerage houses, they don't really talk about how to distribute that money. It is about accumulation, which is a very important thing, but it also comes down to, as you guys said, the desire to work versus the necessity to work. I think a lot of people, let me ask you, when people come in for the first time and, maybe they have been kicking the can down the road as far as, I don't think I'm going to be able to retire, what motivates them? What do you find has kept them from, or that mindset, why they think that they can't retire? Is it just trying to keep up with their coworkers, their neighbors, and things like that?
I see a lot of people that it's just general fear and lack of understanding. I mean, the culture that we've all grown up in, it is, we're taught to save, we're taught to get this big number. You see all these media reports that, if you don't have $3 million saved, you'll never be able to retire. Well, that's just simply not true because not every retirement's the same. Not every retirement's equal. To Ralph's point about the people that saved all that money and managed their expenses, and Tim said it earlier, it's about income and creating memories. Well, if you can generate the income to pay all of your bills, you don't have massive debt, something like that, and you can retire, well, guess what? I mean, I've seen people retire with a $500,000 account that are going to live a very, very nice lifestyle because they were practical in their working years. They managed their assets very, very well. And, it generates, the result of that is a great, great lifestyle that keeps them very happy.
And I would say, just to your point, Scott, I had a client that came in, or a prospect came in yesterday, and we were talking with the roadmap. He only had $105,000 saved in his retirement program, and he wanted to know at age 65, which he was, would he be able to retire within the next 2 to 3 years? We went through the roadmap, and guess what? He's got a pension. He's got Social Security with about $6,000 a month coming in guaranteed after taxes, okay? So that was net to him. But he's done such a good job of keeping all of his expenses down that he's got a $3,000 extra income that he doesn't need to buy his groceries and things like that.
Wow.
So there's no such magic number that everybody keeps talking about.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is confidence. Going back to the report article, is a lot of people don't have the confidence, to Scott's point, is people are nervous, scared, maybe even a little bit ashamed of what they have or have not done. And credit card debt is one of those things. So that survey found that, a lot of folks, they've got $10,000 or $20,000 or more in credit card savings, and I think around 37% are worried about meeting, their living costs. So what does that mean for retirement? If you're making more while you're working versus what you'll make in retirement, because some people do, are you going to be able to live the lifestyle that you currently have, right? One of the questions we have in our retirement roadmap is, what kind of income do you want in retirement? And everybody says, maintain my salary. Because if you don't maintain your salary, more than likely your lifestyle is going to take a pay cut, so to speak. And that's not what you want to do in retirement.
And that's why you need to work on your retirement, call the financial professional so you don't have to work in your retirement unless you want to. That's a key issue when you work with somebody that understands what your needs are, because most people don't have a plan. They don't have a clue what they need to do because they never retired before. And in my experience, that's the best teacher in the world, is what is your experience with doing certain things that you don't need to do again because you made a mistake earlier in your life.
Because while everyone's retirement plan is different. One of the things I think is pretty universal is people want to just retire once. Again, unless they decide later on they want to go back into the workforce out of a desire to, not out of a necessity. And that is, I think, pretty much across the board when you guys meet people, that's generally something that they're looking for, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite slides that we use in our first Friday presentation, we use it every single presentation we do, is it's a picture of the three of us, and it's a quote from Ralph that says, "You only retire for the first time once." Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's a lot of people that we work with that, they're striving for retirement. We help them achieve their retirement goals and get retired. And then they get 2-3 years in and they go, you know what, I'm bored. I want to do something, whether that's volunteer, go back to work. One of the things that I pride myself in, I've never had to look at a client and say, you need to go back to work. Now, if you want to go back to work, you can, or you want to do something else. But, we all have these goals for retirement. We all want to stop working and do something. But then, 2-3 years down the road, maybe you're just not as fulfilled as you thought you would be, and you want to, as Ralph said, you want a mission, you want a purpose, you want to do something. So that's always on the table. It just should never have to be you have to do it.
And I always warn people, when you start to retire, there's a huge transition between your work life, your daily activities that you're used to, and now your retirement life, because now you don't have certain things that you need to do like you did. Have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take a shower, go to work, be there by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever it is. Now you can just get to do whatever you want. Some people get bored with that.
I don't think anyone out there, when they set out in the working world, thought to themselves, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I have no intention of retiring. I think that's always in the plan at some point. And then somewhere along the lines, and I don't want to sugarcoat things and say that everything is fantastic out there. Obviously, inflation continues to be around, taxation, the looming threat of that, interest rates being what they are, market volatility. There's a lot for people to be concerned with, and I think that creeps into people's brains and makes them think, I'm not going to be able to retire. My challenge for you listening out there is to lay that aside or bring those concerns to the table. Sit down with the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners. Sit down with Ralph, with Tim, with Scott. Have that conversation, because as I've said many times, and it's not me being, just repeating myself for the sake of it, but you may find out that you are in better shape than you thought. Like the gentleman like you talked about earlier who had that pension, that certainly goes a long way to help, even if you only have, $150,000 saved or what have you. We've thrown out numbers on this episode where you may think to yourself, I don't have that much money saved. I'm not going to be able to retire. Don't do that. Click on the link in the podcast description, go to welcomehomefp.com, schedule a time to speak with the guys at Welcome Home Financial Partners, because you may find out that you are actually equipped to retire. You actually have a little bit more confidence when it comes to that, or you may find out that there is work that needs to be done. That's also okay, because now you know what the steps are that you need to do to get to that retirement that you've been dreaming of when you first set out in the working world, and how to be able to achieve that, maintain that, and then if you desire to go back to work down the road, again, it's desire versus necessity. It all starts with that first conversation, and that starts with reaching out. WelcomeHomeFP.com. Like I said, it's right there in the podcast description. Click the link right there. Find out more about the guys. Find out more about the First Friday events. Schedule a time to speak with them, and hopefully get you feeling more confident about your retirement. Want to thank you for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart. As always, appreciate you joining us. Guys, appreciate you taking the time. And as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with the final word.
Thanks, Chris. So we want to thank everybody for listening. But, if you're heading close to retirement or in retirement and you want to feel more confident, give us a call, attend one of the First Friday events. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.
All content is for information purposes only. It is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decision, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication or future results. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Welcome Home Financial Partners and Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC. The information contained in this material has been derived from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness, and does not purport to a complete analysis of the materials discussed. All information and ideas should be discussed in detail with your individual advisor prior to the implementation. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstance. Advisor services are offered by Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Virginia. Being registered as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Insurance products and services are offered through WPI Holding, Virginia Insurance License Number 138509, an affiliated company. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any residents of any state other than the state of Virginia or where otherwise legally permitted. Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, and Welcome Home Financial Partners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.